Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast. And my name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
Steve, this is episode number 373. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I gonna bore everybody. 373. That's the gear in the rear end of my car.
373s. I'm running 513s on my Jeep.
Oh wow. That's
I think
because you're an off-roader.
I think my
I'm
Ford
just
Excursion is 373, maybe actually. Maybe 378. Is there a 378?
That's really a high numeric number for a passenger car, actually.
Yeah, yours is, yeah.
Well, at 373 is if your excursion's the same.
It's close to that. I think it's
Really?
373. And it's
right.
supposed to be pulling things, you know. I have it to
All
pull
right.
things,
I guess
so,
that.
yeah.
All right. Enough of that.
Let's talk more about that. That's to me more fun. All right, so we're hanging on here in Tucson, Arizona. It's windy. It's just really crazy here. We have wind here anyhow, but it's almost hurricane force winds right now. So stuff is below.
You obviously have never been in a hurricane.
Well, they 75 mile per hour is technically hurricane force wind. Am I right? Let's talk about this on our podcast. Let's argue about it. 75 mile per
Somebody
hour.
who's lived through many hurricanes.
Well, but that's technically what it is. It starts around 70, 75 miles per hour.
I know it's not 75-mile-an-hour winds.
They're saying it could gust to that.
I don't know.
All right. Well, that concludes our episode of the Church Solutions Podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. All right. So today we're going to talk about a webinar that we did. We're going to give you kind of the shorter version of it. We did a webinar. What was the webinar we did last month, Steve?
It is, should I still be streaming to Facebook and YouTube?
All right.
Why or why not?
Why or why not? So if you actually want to see that webinar, we recorded it in all its glory. You can just go to streamingchurch.tv/webinar, right?
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. streamingchurch.tv/webinar. And you can see that webinar that we do. We do a webinar every month, and we're going to do another one here on PTZ optics in March. So
yes, if you want to sign up for that, go to webinar.streamingchurch.tv.
Yeah, let's not confuse people. But yeah, we're going to do it. It's going to be on PTZ cameras, I should say. There's a company called PTZ Optics, and we've interviewed Stephen Haywood before, and he's actually going to be a part of this.
So the topic is why PTZs are taking over church streaming.
Yeah, so that's in March. That's March 14th. Yeah, 14th. And that would be 12 noon Eastern time. So sign up for that if you want to be a part of that. And they're really designed. Our webinars are not a sales thing. It's really designed to inform you and equip you with information. Those of you doing streaming video and those things in your church. So let's get back to what we're going to talk about today. If you want to follow some of the notes, Steve didn't like my notes, but they are on the blog. They're we've given you all these websites here, blog.streamingchurch.tv. That's the notes. That's our blog. And we have notes in there about Facebook and YouTube. Should my church still use streamed in? So we're going to talk for about 25 minutes more. Maybe, I don't know. Now we're running out of time since we talked about rear ends. But, all right. So
let's dive in.
But I like talking about rear ends. So
yes. So currently, I mean, this is interesting, and it was reiterated recently to me again that before the pandemic, 22% were streaming, 97%. This showed up in the exact same number that you had in your Unstuck report from Tony Morgan.
There you go.
He surveyed 300 and something churches. 97% are live streaming.
Yeah, well, it was the pandemic, right? I mean, technically.
Well, no, this is today.
Oh, today.
This is today. 97%. I mean, the report's just recent, right? So,
well, I guess. Yeah. Well, it was the last quarter. So, Tony's report was the last quarter.
So maybe 3 months old.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's still surprising to me.
It is. Yeah, it is.
I mentioned it to my son, and he's like, 97% of churches don't have pastors. It's just, it's kind of interesting.
Inflated, I think. But yeah, Well, okay. The point is, a lot of churches are doing streaming video, and that's
Yes.
the point. That's the big idea here. So the question comes up a lot is, well, now that we're kind of getting out of this pandemic, according to some people, should I still be streaming to Facebook and YouTube? Because a lot of these churches had the stream. I mean, we're a company, full disclosure, if you haven't figured this out by now, we're a company called streamingchurch.tv, and we help churches do streaming video, among other things, content delivery network and all that. But a lot of churches went the free route of YouTube or Facebook. And so, the question is, should I still do this?
Yeah, and they're continuing on it.
Yeah, they are.
I was visiting the Church Live Streaming Technology Help Facebook group that I'm a part of, and somebody posted a poll of where people are streaming, and Facebook and YouTube are the top two, tied neck and neck as the most popular places that churches are streaming to.
Yeah, and it's free. So what I thought we could cover today a little bit is, what's the pros and cons of this? And we want to try to be as unbiased as we can. There are pros, there are advantages to doing this. There are also some disadvantages, and it's important because really, we're looking at, well, I'm doing it because it's free. I'm streaming there because it's free. Well, okay, but do you really have a strategy? Is it really free? What does free really mean, and what comes along with all this? So that's kind of what we're getting at, right? So,
yep.
All right. So should we just jump in here a little bit?
Sure. Let's jump in.
All right. So let's talk about the advantages. So the advantages are, as I just mentioned, it's free. If you want to stream to YouTube and Facebook, it's free. Social media networks are generally ad funded, meaning they monetize their viewership on their platform, and they're going to use your content, and you won't have to pay, but you might be paying other ways. So that's one advantage, is it's free. It's not going to cost you anything to stream to Facebook or YouTube.
Yes.
All right. So number two, in this we've been doing this podcast how long? 12 years, and we still are awkward in how we handle it. We're not as awkward as you and Mike, but me and Mike, but all right. So the second one is expand. Sorry, Mike. The second one is expand your reach. Another advantage to using YouTube and Facebook is you have the potential to expand your reach. It's a potential. Doesn't mean you will, but there is a potential. What are you laughing about now?
I just the challenge we're having is
we're on different notes.
We're doing different notes. I'm using our presentation we did, and you're using the blog notes. But I'm going to switch over to the blog notes. So that's why I'm laughing.
All right. Well,
so we'll switch over, and I'll pull the spicy stuff from the webinar into the blog notes.
You have two screens, right? So you can go back and forth, right?
Yeah, I got it. I actually not right now. I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, then you got to have trouble. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how stubborn Steve Lacy is. In case you don't know this, we argued about this before we started to record. All right. So I just said, hey, we're going to use the blog. And you said, well, I want to use the webinar notes. It's like, well, okay, that's fine. We can use them both. So the second point I wanted to make was it could potentially expand your reach. There's lots of people, which we'll talk about in a moment, hopefully. We'll talk about, how many numbers of billions of people are on these social platforms. The other advantage is a lot of your followers are probably there. Now, Steve, actually, Michael Gray would mention that on your Facebook page, your church's Facebook page, he had some stat that said only 7% are going to actually see your post. Do you remember him saying that?
Yes, those that are subscribed to like a church page, and the church will post something. And it used to be that post would go, everybody that was subscribed to that page would see that content. But Facebook's changed their ways over the years, and now only 7% of your followers to your page are going to see what you post.
Yeah, I'm not sure
we're getting into some of the cons here.
Yeah, but I mean, at least 7%. If you go by that stat, at least 7% are going to see your stuff. It can save you time, because if you're concerned about archives, recorded video, when you're streaming the places like YouTube and Facebook, it's going to stream live, and then it's going to actually record automatically for you, and it will be available. It sticks around for a while. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it can stick around. Your video can be there, and people can find it pretty easily on YouTube, and not as easy on Facebook. But yeah, you do have potential engagement. And then let me just talk about the numbers, and I'll let you look at your notes since they're different. The numbers don't lie. Well, at least as far as what the numbers are. I mean, for instance, Facebook, I think, is the number one. If you're comparing Facebook and YouTube, Facebook would be probably ahead of YouTube, 2.5 billion users, 64 billion with a B. Facebook live videos are watched daily. Videos are immediately available to your followers, as I mentioned earlier, and audiences can usually interact. YouTube has the second most visited website worldwide. They have over 2 billion with a B users each month. Live videos remain available. And again, they're very searchable. YouTube stuff is very searchable because Google owns them, and we all know who Google is, right? So
yeah.
right.
So I mean, this kind of goes into the we're going to get into a little bit of the cons, but 64 billion, there's how many billion people on the planet? 8 billion?
Yeah, people? Somewhere in that neck of the woods.
So,
last time I counted, yes.
So every human being on the planet watches 8 videos every day on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're very popular, you know. They're very popular. There you go. The number one.
I'm having a hard time with some of the math. But
well, I think what it means is somebody like your wife, for instance, might be watching, you know, 1 billion herself every day. I don't know. Now I'm going to get in trouble with your wife. But
we're going to get.
Yeah, this podcast is going really well. All right, so we talked about rear ends at the beginning. By the way, my Jeep Scrambler had 273s in its rear end when I first got it, and that's why I changed it to 513s. All
right, we're moving on.
Will this thing even be published? Will this podcast even be online? That's what I want to know. So the disadvantages to this, the disadvantages are a really long list, as you would expect from us. You're not in control. So when you post stuff on YouTube or Facebook, it's not really your content anymore. You're basically giving it to them, and they have the right to publish it, to deny publishing it, to remove your files, or even use your content some other way. So you're not in control when you do that. That's what I would call a disadvantage. Another disadvantage would be it could be taken down, which I kind of alluded to there. It could be taken down anytime, and there are churches that have lost their content. It's their stuff that they were doing because they said something controversial or something. It got taken down.
We have firsthand experience with that sort of thing.
With some of our customers, with people that
that were taken down. The reason they came to us is they lost everything.
Yeah, and it does happen. Okay. Distractions are very much around when you're posting to social media, when you're streaming, your archives, whatever. There's other stuff going on around people. So when they're watching something on YouTube, there's other suggested things to watch, even on Facebook. So there are distractions, related or unrelated videos can kind of pop up and, you know, take people away from what they're looking at. Again, you might be censored. And this has happened. I think my church years ago, we it was a Christmas deal, and we played a Christmas song from the Beatles. I know, heresy, right? But we played a Christmas song, and it was muted or something because it was, you know.
Yeah, and we that's I posted on this Facebook group of other church leaders in the streaming world, and when you talk about being censored, the number one thing that happens is your worship music is copyrighted, even though you have a license for it, and you may even publish your license for it. Yeah. You'll either be muted or taken down, and we get just a ton of that. And got some interesting stories from people talking about, I just ignore it, and because and some others, and then we had had the quote from, I made that post and somebody replied that they were taken down for nudity during their church service. So,
and I asked, hey, what church is this and can I join? So now we're talking about nudity. We were talking earlier about rear ends. Now we're talking about nudity. But yeah, that's a true story. I mean, and of course, the church wasn't doing nudity. They were I don't know
definitely,
what the deal was.
yes, they were scratching their head on how the heck did they not watch this? Or anyway, and that's another thing we'll talk about is all this is, it's not like somebody's watching and they're calling headquarters up, shut down First Life Church because they've got them going. Everything is completely automated. So they have bots that say, oh, that thing looked like nudity, whatever they showed, and said, we better take them down. Or that music sounds a lot like this other copyrighted music. Yeah. So we'll mute the music.
I had a friend who actually wrote a song and they took it down, and he actually wrote it and actually got it published.
Oh, that's probably his problem though, right? Because he published it. So
yeah, I think that was probably it.
That's because it was copyrighted.
It was Michael Ledner, "You Are My Hiding Place," but
he had his own rendition of his own music taken down.
Yeah, Maranatha Music or whatever it was. But so it does happen. Okay, so we're talking about the disadvantages. Another one is customer support or lack of it. There's really no customer support. If you're having an issue with Facebook or YouTube and pretty much any of the other social media platforms out there, you're not going to get any support. And so things happen. You have Mark Zuckerberg's phone number, and
it becomes a pain, especially, I mean, with YouTube, they flag you and then you've got to file an appeal and submit paperwork and do all this stuff. But there's nobody to go, this is ridiculous. I have my CCLI license. Let's just, move on. But there's no opportunity for that to talk to somebody and actually get it resolved. You got to jump through all the hoops.
Yeah. Another disadvantage is it could possibly drive traffic away from your ministry website. So my take on this is, and we're going to talk about this, I assume, if it gets in your notes here. We feel like it's important to send people to your church website, and that's what you want people to go to, is your church website. And so if you're doing other things on other platforms, people may not be going to your church website. And obviously the church website has stuff about your church, what you're doing, your vision, your goals, how you can help people, prayer requests, those kind of things on your ministry website. But if you're using social media, that could take people away from your website and they don't go there anymore. In fact, we had a church, your church, I think it was, said, we don't want to stream to Facebook anymore because we want people coming to our website.
Yes.
To watch the stream.
That was
your church years ago. They said.
They're very concerned about maintaining the hub and the numbers and the activity and the stuff on their church website.
All right. Yeah. We can kind of move on here, other than just to say that, if somebody's searching for a video, they could probably find it okay on YouTube, but they're probably going to have a little bit of a problem finding it on Facebook. They can find it, but it's a little harder to find your video. Again, this is a disadvantage. Resolution limitations on Facebook. I think you can choose a variety of bit rates and stuff on YouTube, but Facebook, my understanding is you can't go past 720p. So there are some things. So let's talk a little bit. So those were some of the disadvantages, and take it for what it's worth. We also talked about some of the pros. What's our suggestions, Mr. Steve Lacy?
So our suggestion is to use these different vehicles for what they're best at. So we recommend that you do your ministry at your church website. Your church website's already set up. You've got your volunteers that are focused on your church website. If you're going to stream to multiple social platforms, that means you're going to need multiple people out at the perimeters of all these different areas. So we recommend to use your church website as the hub, and then use these social platforms as spokes to draw people to the hub. So rather than stream live on the social networks, is use the social networks, maybe put out a 30-second clip that drives people to your live service that's playing on your church website. So big advantages. I mean, you control your hub. It's the place that you have 100% control of. No one's going to take your church website down. You've got your staff trained there. You have other ministry tools there for being able to pray with people. People can give online. Things like that are all kind of geared for your website. And then the social hubs are where the masses are. So you want to reach out using your spokes to the social platforms and destinations to interface with your people or people that may discover you, but have a link that draws them back to the church website. And we're seeing, all the leading large ministries today are using this same approach, where they'll leverage the social media to draw people into their hub, but their main worship and ministry is happening, and streaming is happening on their church website.
Yeah. I just did a blog, and again, you can always go to blog.streamingchurch.tv to read it. I just did a blog on making sermon promos and putting those on social media. And in other words, the idea is you have a 30 to 60 second promotion of what you're doing, what you're talking, and maybe a message series, or maybe each individual sermon that you're going to do. You keep it short, but it's kind of like a teaser, but you keep it short and you let people know what you're going to talk about, and you put that on your social media platforms. Because today, and there's, again, studies have shown, I don't have the stats in front of me here, but studies have shown that people are not really want to sit down and listen to something that's 45, 60 minutes long, especially if you're new and you're not really a part of that church. You might see the topic might interest you, but are you going to really stick around for 45 or 60 minutes of a sermon? But if you had a promo that you put on social media and then directed people back to your website, your church website, which is what we're calling the hub here, that can get you better mileage, better traction.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a whole other schools of thought that have to do with how long should your online service be, and how should you set that up? So there's and a lot of churches aren't doing it that way right now, but you're right. There's the length of your service is going to be critical, especially for your online service, because there are distractions for an online service. People can't get up in the middle of or they can, but it's much more difficult to get up in the middle of the sermon going, I'm bored with this guy. I'm going to run out to my car and go to the fridge and grab something to eat. Whereas online, it's much easier to say, I'm tired of this guy. Let's switch channels or move over somewhere else. So yeah,
absolutely. So again, this is kind of our opinion. There's other people that would agree with us on some of this, but there's others that don't. So, as usual, what we're trying to do here as a company is just really try to give you some information, let you make the decision, obviously, but give you some information as to, you're doing social media. Okay, well, why is this such an important thing? Well, most churches don't have a strategy when it comes to social media. And so it's good to have a good understanding, a solid understanding of social media. It's important to your church. It's important to your members. And it's important to how you're going to be doing ministry. And so, it's free. It's free. Well, but is there more to it than just it's free?
Yeah. I think a lot of churches fall into that trap. Yeah. Well, I need to stream. I've got to stream. Oh, this is free. Let's do that. And it's at least free on the surface. Yeah. So there are costs with everything.
There are, for everything there is. So anyhow, that's it in a nutshell. If you really want to see the real notes to this, just go to streamingchurch.tv/webinar, and you can look at the recorded video, and you can hear Mike and myself and Steve talk about some of this in a little more detail. If you want the quick version, then just go to our blog.streamingchurch.tv. All right. Anything else we need to cover here?
I don't think so. I'm looking over.
Look over your notes there. Make sure that we didn't leave anything important out that could change the course of history for somebody. I think that, the bottom line is this, folks. I mean, technology is here. We've beaten this drum for many, many years. Technology is here. So, use it as best you can. And, if streaming video is something, which we think is important, if it's something you want to do, we can certainly help you on that. We've helped churches that don't even use us. I've had people ask me questions and stuff that they're not our customers. but we're happy to try to help and inform. And we're not trying to sell people on stuff. We're just trying to help your church, be successful at what you feel like God's called you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the bottom line. So that's why we do what we do. All right. So
I was the Tony Morgan thing that you sent our way, was it this morning or yesterday?
A couple of days ago.
Yeah. That talked about how churches are using streaming. One of the key things that came out is it is an easy on-ramp for new people. So the churches that are doing well, and he kind of went through, here's some characteristics of, he's not saying that you do this and you'll do well, or you avoid this and you will do, because he laid out different aspects, but he went through some of the growing churches. But one of the things that he did point out is the streaming is a large primary purpose is a super easy on-ramp invitation tool for exposure to your church.
Yeah, it really does, to some capacity or another. So even if I think the thing we feel like is good advice from our friend Kenny Jong is, don't just do a cut and paste deal. Don't just like, okay, I'm just going to throw it up here and not put any effort into it. Now there's resources out there that are free. There's open source resources that you can use, Handbrake. You can use video editing equipment. You can do a lot of things that doesn't take you that much time to put together something really nice. It's not going to be too time consuming or expensive.
Yeah. Well, all right. The rain is coming sideways here.
Oh, where you're at? No, it's not here. It was, it's kind of died down here. Okay. All right, folks. Hey, look, I'm sure there's some people that might say, you guys are out to lunch. We'd love to go out to lunch, but if you want to give us some feedback, we always are open to this. You can just send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv. Sometimes I clown around here, but we've been doing this for a long time, and we always want to get feedback from what you think about some of these topics. So send us an email, let us know what you think about something, and maybe you'll convince us we're wrong, or agree with us. That's always nice too. Yeah. And if you want to subscribe, just go to your favorite podcast, wherever you get your podcast, the favorite place you get your podcast. Go there and look for Church Solutions Podcast and subscribe to us and give us a rating. And yes. All right, good. Okay, so we're done here. Thank you, Mr. Steve Lacy.
I'm glad to be here to harass you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's between you and Michael. It's fun. It's a fun place to be. So, all right. Well, it is. I give you a hard time too, right? I mean, it's something we do. You refer to me as what do you refer to me as? Your married workmate or something? I don't know. We've been doing this for a long time, so we do.
We're Oscar and Felix.
We do tend to get on each other's nerves, but that's the way it goes.
But we do. Like, I have a former boss at an old job, and he had this guy that was completely opposite end of the political spectrum from him. Yeah. But they had lunch every month, and they just loved each other. Yeah. So he said, the guy actually passed away not too long ago. And I mentioned that. I go, "So you guys loved each other, but you're completely different ends of the world." And he goes, "Yes, I did love Walt." So yeah. Well, that's good. That's true love, when you can still enjoy each other and have different points of views on things. I mean, the world would be a lot nicer if we could get along, right? So, all right, good deal. Thanks, folks, for spending some time with us today, and catch us next time on another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast. For Steve Lacy, my name is Phil Thompson. Have yourself a great day. Take care of yourself and each other.